Hello, everyone. This is Jim Gao from Team Hashgraph Exchange. Today, let's talk about the topic of decentralization. What is decentralization? I think to understand decentralization, it's probably helpful to understand what is centralization, because that's the paradigm that the world has been operating under since as far back as anybody can remember. And the best definition of centralization I heard of came from this Chinese Dama, or this 70-year-old Chinese auntie. And according to her, centralization is that the money that you think belongs to you, actually, it's in the pockets of somebody else. And I think it's a very good simile, that explains what centralization is. Let's take an example. Let's say that you have $100 cash, you put it in the bank, and you think you have possession of this money, but you don't really have the control over the supply of this $100. And let's say that the Federal Reserve, the issuer of this money, just decides to print twice as much of the M2, the money supply. All of a sudden, the purchasing power of the $100 depreciates by 50%. And that just shows you don't really have the control, even though it's in your possession, this money, but you don't have the control over it. Let's take another example. Let's say that if you do not hold cash, you say, I want to buy stocks and bonds. And it's great if you invested in Tesla and Amazon, you're doing well. But let's say that you invested in WorldCom or Lehman Brothers in 2007, then your investments would be wiped out with the bankruptcies of these companies. Again, even though you think you own a portion of these corporations, but you don't really have any control over the performance of these companies, and you inherently have a lot of risk. And take another example is for these centralized exchanges, for example, like Robinhood. Earlier this year, we saw that they can just randomly shut down a trade for a particular stock or option, like GameStop. You think that that this trade is a sure win to make you some money, and you're ready to execute the trade, and it turns out that this authority, the centralized authority, Robinhood, can just prevent you from doing that. Some people, they try to buy Dogecoin, at that time, and you just couldn't do it. Again, the power and the control of executing those trades resides in a centralized authority, centralized organization. And that's what centralization is. And that's a predominant paradigm in our world today. And what decentralization is trying to do is to take the power and control away from these entities, be a corporation, a central bank, or a government, and distribute that to average folks like you and I. And we're already seeing one of the first decentralized applications, namely Bitcoin, has been running for the past 11, 12 years. And we think that in the future, more and more applications will become decentralized. Applications like Uber or Robinhood, or even Google itself will be residing on a distributed ledger technology such as Hashgraph. And we here at Hex think that decentralization will be the mega trend of our generation, just like digitalization was the mega trend of the 90s, and mobile internet and in the internet were the trends since the millennium. So that decentralization will change the world in the next 10 to 15 years in as profound ways as those trends had over the previous 30 years. So that's my take on decentralization. Let me know what you think, and thank you for tuning in.